Hi everyone, Manish Mittal this side. So after morning sessions and the morning break, let's start the new energy session with the PWA. And here I'm with Eric. Eric is going to share about the Beyond Performance Breakthrough experience with PWA. Eric is working with a Magento as a senior manager, product management, Magento Commerce at Adobe for merchant and shopping experience. So I'm going to hand over this stage to Eric. Eric, over to you. Thank you.
Great, thank you so much, Manish. And so let's go ahead and get started here. So, want to do a little bit of a different talk this time around for Meet Magento. And so, by all means, super excited to be here. This is the first Meet Magento of all of 2021. I think we all miss each other and can't wait to get back together in person someday. And so, let's talk a little bit about PWA. Really talk about beyond performance and some of the breakthrough experiences that we don't always get a chance to do so. So, in terms of yeah, and in terms of introductions, Manish, I think had that covered. For those who aren't familiar, my name is Eric Erway. I'm the Senior Manager of Product Management for Merchant and Shopping Experiences. Includes PWA, Page Builder, B2B, and a few other key experiences across the way. I've been doing this for, at this point, more than 2 decades, and 6 of those are with Magento, now Adobe. And could not be more thrilled again to be here, but this is a really exciting time to be working in this industry, really exciting time to be working with the Magento community. And again, I'm hoping that you'll find this content valuable and inspiring, and help you make your experiences better along the way. So, a couple key takeaways for today. The current state of Magento 2, we're going to cover a little bit about that, Adobe, and a few key themes for 2021 based on some of the 2020 research that we've aggregated, especially around the holiday season, courtesy of Adobe Digital Insights. Then we're going to switch gears and talk about breakthrough experiences beyond performance in PWA. We've been talking about PWA for quite some time. PWA is the way of the future. It is really giving us a framework to deliver these great experiences, but we don't talk a lot about the experiences enough. We talk a lot about performance, etc. And then we're going to close with the latest on PWA Studio, Venya, which is our reference storefront, and how you can get started. So if we step back a little bit, the current state of Magento 2 and Adobe continues to change, but it's changing in a very positive direction. First of all, we've done a lot of great work with James Zetlin and team going back to the very beginnings of PWA Studio and improving the developer experience. We're really proud of not only what we've done, but how we've done it with the Magento community. In addition to that, the premise for all the work is really to address the gaps in mobile conversion. We are quickly adapting for a mobile first economy in a world where we've advanced in some ways 10 years in the last 10 months. In addition to that, we know that we need to optimize for both speed and the need for change. That's incredibly important this day and age because it really affects not only just customer experiences, but your experience as a merchant as well. Beyond that, extending for dynamic superior shopping experiences are also incredibly important. Long gone are the days of static commerce experiences. What we're trying to do here is to open up both content and commerce in a way that hasn't been done before. And so really looking and kind of expanding your mind and helping deliver those experiences along the way. And then last but not least, we don't want to forget the merchants. There's a lot of great opportunities and a lot of great ways to do this. We want to make sure that what we're creating can be easily managed, scheduled, etc., from a business user perspective. And again, this is really what we're doing, and we continue to make a lot of great progress. 2021 is going to be a big year for that. So let's step back a little bit and talk through some of the data points. One of the things that came out really recently from Adobe Data Insights were learnings from the 2020 holiday season. So the predictions themselves were pretty much spot on. And as part of the Adobe family, including a lot of the sites you see here from Magento Commerce, we look at over 1 trillion sales over the course of 80 of the top 100 sites today. And what you'll start to see is a lot of trends, both in terms of commerce itself, which, as you can see, and you've probably heard, online shopping really has become the new norm. We've seen well over 30% growth when it comes to specifically around the shopping that happened during the holidays. Contentless shopping itself trended during the holidays, especially 2 days before Christmas itself, where it peaked more than ever before. And then basics like search engines themselves drove a big part of the retailer site traffic. Your homepage is often that search result. And so you really got to make sure that those are finely tuned and really optimized in the way that in the ways that those can work well for your business. And then last but not least, we can't forget smartphones. Smartphones themselves finally surpassed the halfway point for the very first time. So we're going to talk a little bit about what this looks like, some more details around this. But the reality is the premise for what we're doing in 2021, the experiences that we're driving with PWA, all really hit some of the needs that we started to see in the 2020 holiday season that we're here to share. There's a lot more information that you can find on adobe.com and a lot more details that get into the depths of the reports that we can share afterwards. So again, if you really focus on the areas that are specific around merchant and shopping experiences, search engines themselves were a primary driver of traffic. This probably is no surprise, but the results continue to be very strong, especially around paid search, direct traffic, and natural search. What this means as a merchant is that your showing more than ever has to be incredibly strong. Holiday season is really that big bet at the end, and you got to make sure that your organic search, and you're really looking at characteristics, thinking about SEO, but in some ways, some of the things that we'll be talking about in these breakthrough experiences are well more than the site itself. You've got to think about what your site looks like from a search perspective as well, and we'll cover that in the next section. Smartphones, which have of course been near and dear to the heart of PWA, continue their steady increase. Again, both November and December, which is how the holidays were measured with these reports, accounted for 40% of the revenue, which is really, really exciting. Also encountered $23 billion more money spent on smartphones during the holiday season than before. And then on Christmas Day itself, 52% of spend came from smartphones. These were these kind of quick purchases that happened in the middle of all the things that were happening in Christmas. And people aren't really using laptops or desktops at the time. They're using with whatever's in their hand at the moment. And again, top line here, smartphones really, again, continuing their steady increase. We saw quite a bit of it ourselves across the data that included both Magento and Adobe. And what we're doing really hits some of the opportunities that are happening here. So let's talk about what those opportunities look like. This has all been great news. Search is strong. Definitely want to spend some time there and focus on improvements around that experience. Mobile is also strong as well. But one of the things that we really started off in this mission a couple of years ago, whether it be PW Studio, Venya, and really the work at large, is addressing the mobile conversion gap. And so if you take a look at the data here, again, a lot of it's very encouraging. There's a lot of growth broken down by large and SMB businesses. And you start to see some of the different variation there, whether it be average order value, conversion, revenue per minute. There's some trends there that happen once you take a look at some of the details. But I want you to take a look at some of the data that you see here on the right. And it really comes down to things like revenue per visit, conversion, and average order value. An interesting breakdown, though, starts to happen when you look at just the smartphone data. Again, we should be happy about the improvements that we've made around mobile experiences, which still need to close the gap compared to native experiences, but we still have some work to do. So roughly we are still quite a bit below the conversion you would see traditionally overall when you look at smartphones. That's the problem that we're trying to solve. So if you think about why this data is so important, we still have a lot of work to do. As more traffic continues to flow through mobile, the conversion itself still is underperforming in areas, and it comes down to experience. And of course, experience is really the hallmark of what we're trying to do here around PWA. So let's talk about what those experiences are. Again, the premise for this entire talk has a lot to do with kind of breakthrough experiences and getting beyond just the performance aspects of PWA. If you step back and think about what PWA is all about, it's really about creating a fast, integrated, resilient, and engaging experience. And we spend a lot of time talking about the fast. Fast is really table stakes. PWA helps you get there, as well as a variety of solutions that are out there as well. But ultimately, closing the gap on those near native experiences bring together those opportunities that, again, were once reserved for native. There's a lot of capabilities being put in the browsers to date. We'll kind of talk about that a little bit more detail and kind of what you can do as a merchant, partner, and developer to elevate these into the experiences that your customers are going to love. But I think one of the ways that really can frame this well is if you look at the full core customer journey of digital commerce. This is a graph from Gartner that really starts to frame this with an eye towards PWA. We've showed this a couple times in the past, but the reality is we really only talk about the sections here in the middle: engage, select, and purchase. This is a pretty standard commerce experience. When you think about PWA, there's a lot more to offer around the discovery experience. And we talked a little bit about the opportunities and the strength in search and the fulfillment experiences. So when you think about some of those near native capabilities like notifications and other areas around what you order and what your experience looks like after the sale, PWA really helps deliver that. And to be honest, we're really only scratching the surface. And I think that's where we start to look at the power of the Magento ecosystem, Adobe, and the industry at large, to start to build around with the raw materials and the examples and the work and the platforms that we continue to drive towards this year and into the future. So again, think about this as a framing of kind of the full customer journey. And the reality is of us really focusing primarily on this traditional commerce experience in the middle. There's a lot of work that we're doing here, again, to hit not only just performance, but also key areas like resiliency, engagement, and integration. All of that makes sense, but there's a lot of opportunities kind of left and right here. So let's break this down in a couple of those key considerations. So we've talked a little bit about search, and we had a very specific talk and really talked quite a bit in detail with experts from Google and a few partners across the Magento ecosystem. And the reality is, performance is really going to be just a part of some key considerations they're going to change in your search results. In this example from Google, they're looking at areas like core web vitals, which is a measurement of page load, interactivity, and visual stability. Performance is just a part of this, but in reality, by May of this year, your page ranking will be affected by the realities of what that experience might be. More than just performance, but also built on areas of visual stability, which is that experience you probably see when a page starts to load and shift, and really the fluidity that happens there. And beyond that, it needs to be mobile friendly. It has to be safe to browse. It's got to be secure, and of course, no intrusive interstitials. Again, intercollaboration with Google. We've been apprised of this, and they've been very public about this for about a year. But it's going to start getting real in a couple months here when Google makes those changes to search rankings. And as a merchant, a partner, and a developer, we've got to be ready. And again, thinking well beyond this, and really the variety of tools that Google has to help measure what core web vitals looks like for you. So I encourage you to take a look at those. There's separate talks and articles to help you get into more information around that. So let's talk about a couple other key experiences that are happening here as well. On the left is product recommendations. I think we're all familiar with really one of the highlights of 2020 coming out of our data solutions team. That's going to be coming to Venya and some of the work we're doing to PWA the first half of this year. So we're excited really about these key services making their way from the current platform really into the next generation platform that we're doing with Venya. And so more to come on that one. But when you think about engaging experience, you really have to think about personalization. You have to think about AI-powered recommendations like Sensei. They really start to pull through and add a lot of meaningful content to key experiences like product details that you see here. On the right, we've got some really interesting ideas around 3D, augmented reality, and virtual reality. And so these have been concepts in the past. We've done some initial research on this one, but these are the types of experiences that start to take advantage of these capabilities that we'll talk about very soon. Many of these are already baked into your browser and replace things that were only once reserved for native. So these start to come to life in a very interesting way, and allowing us to kind of close that gap between what's possible in your devices and what's really an opportunity created with a platform, the work that we're doing. So if you look at also some of the key aspects of commerce, shopping cart's a perfect example of this. And what you see here is 4 different examples of what shopping carts look like as adapted with Venya itself. An interesting part about this, though, is 2 of these 4 are actually on key AEM sites to date. So what they've done is adapt the Venya shopping cart as you know it, just as its own, and started to integrate that into the key experiences. So when you start to think about what it means to start to work with these new sets of tools, start to work with PWA, start to work with our platform, it's not always a full experience. You can use, in some cases, use what you need for that one. And of course, Venya provides a great starting point for shopping experiences as they're integrated with Magento 2. But the reality is we've got a couple live sites out there that really capitalize, as you see, a fairly close rendition that we're able to be easily adapted, still integrated with Magento 2 on the back end, but pulled through with an experience like AEM on the front end. And so on the left is kind of the edge of Venya. The second one there is tivo.com. Third one is Sazerac, which we just published some great information on with the Buffalo Trace site, and on the right, Elemis, which we also shared some more information about as well. So again, a shopping cart really across all 4 of these. They don't always have to look exactly the same, and the tools that we're really providing look beyond just the page, look beyond just the flow, and really start to get into these key experiences almost at an atomic level. So I encourage you to take a look at some of the examples that are out there. But when you start to see them side by side, you kind of start to see it coming together, and it's well more than just a singular experience. It's really a series of components that help you bring those to life. So we've talked a lot about the capabilities themselves. Again, the premise here is that PWA, the capabilities that exist today in your devices, we're only starting to scratch the surface. And so if you look at sites like caniuse.com, which is a great way to look at the reach and the possibilities of the APIs that are available on the web in today's modern browsers, and what you can do with them. The possibilities are really endless. We've seen a lot of demos. We've seen a lot of inspiration from Innovations Lab and the community and such. And when we talk about P2A, the reality is we're really only focused on one of a handful of these that are out there right now. As you can see, service workers, which is the premise of P2A, is available, as you would probably imagine, about 95% of all modern browsers today. That's great news. But the reality is there's a lot more when you look at the various kind of ingredients of what it takes to be a great experience. And so payment request is a great example. You can create essentially a Google Pay or an Apple Pay-like experience using web standards in both mobile and desktop, using APIs themselves. Great opportunity there. There's also some great work around things like Contact Manager, Web Share, Bluetooth, and others that start to kind of hit into some interesting areas for B2B. Same thing with shape detection, which is a great way to look at QR codes, which also has some applicability here in B2B as well. And then simple things like badging, things that you would only expect in native. Those are starting to become more and more available in today's browsers. And so start to kind of kick off experiences that could happen either pre-purchase, during purchase, or post-purchase, whether it be a cart that appears to be abandoned, or an in-store pickup that's ready for attention. There's a lot of different permutations here that, again, as an industry and really as a platform and an ecosystem, we're just starting to scratch the surface with these basic capabilities there today. So I'd encourage you to kind of take a look at these. There's a lot of great work in documenting these. Project Fugu is a great initiative that's starting to kind of advance a lot of these within the browsers. But again, the goal here is really, what can we do to start achieving those experiences that were reserved for native, that we're starting to see more and more in web. And there's probably a lot more here than you thought. So we've talked a lot about the merchant and the shopping experiences, but we don't want to forget about what it means to manage this. And so again, just kind of a refresher. When you start to think about headless and P2E experiences, content management and content and authoring remain a really big part of that. A couple examples today: P2E Studio has been compatible with Venia since 2.3.4 with Page Builder. And there's a lot of great material on that. Being able to change, update, schedule, etc., is a key aspect of any of these experiences. And so, again, when you look at this, it's more than just for developers. It's more than just for partners. It's really for merchants as well to start to manage this in a really easy to use way. And then, last but not least, designers. We can't leave them out as well. So Adobe XD has a lot of great integration points that we're starting to look at very actively this year. So whether it be a design system, whether it be integration with tools like Code and others, in many ways, the sky's the limit. We've seen some really interesting examples from the community and have had some discussions on what might this look like. Again, thinking well beyond just Venia, but really thinking about improving those workflows at the designer level, especially if you're with a partner that is looking at rapid turnaround and starting to bring closer together the personas of the developer and the designer, and making that a lot easier. And ultimately, when everybody speaks the same language and you have a set of tools that are integrated in a meaningful way, it requires less turnarounds and really helps to optimize that workflow along the way. So look for more in this area. This is one of several small examples that we continue to focus on, especially as part of the larger Adobe portfolio. So we're going to wrap up here with a couple product updates for P2B Studio and Venia. So from a top level perspective, P2B Studio itself, again, the developer tools to build, optimize, and deploy P2Bs and Magento continues to thrive. We've got some great work happening with a team that you can see on a regular basis during our community calls. So if you have any questions, certainly reach out to us on that. And then Venia itself, again, as the storefront, continues to be a top priority in 2021. We're going to talk a little bit about some of the work that's happening in P2B Studio 9, released next week, but our work is not yet done. We've got some great and have made some really great strides with the team on pulling this together, and we continue to see a lot of great launches along the way. So speaking of the launches, the adoption itself has been really, really impressive. To date, if you look at the stores themselves built using PWA Studio, there's about 77 of them that we've seen and that are kind of known to date. But the reality is that is a subset of about 184 examples. Some of them are demo development or different states that are maybe getting ready to launch, according to built with. And so you see a lot of those on various size, complexity, et cetera. And that's built on about 25 to 30 known extensions and themes that are supporting PWAs to date. And then 2,300 members in our Magento community, our PWA channel, which in many ways is kind of the heartbeat of the project. We check it every day. We interact with our community. And that's really all a part of about the 200 plus contributors to the project to date, including two amazing maintainers in both Jordan and Lars, who really keep things going. And again, are often that first face when you join the project, in some ways before before the team itself. So again, PWA Studio Benny is alive and well. We've got a lot of great progress to date, and we continue to see these launches, and we continue to see the adoption grow. So we'll leave on this, and so which is the current roadmap for PWA Studio. Some of the things that you'll see here are going to be very much in PWA Studio 9, which is going to be again released with 2.4.2 next week. So the items there in bold are going to be released here very soon. So we're really excited about some of the first phase work of my account, currency switcher, and multi-locale, which came by way of the Absolute Net as a key contribution most recently. And then continued work in key areas, many of which again are also driven by the community as well. Mega Menu itself as kind of a call out. We got some recent work from Lars on payment support, but the items you see here on with the lightning bolts are really some of the work that we're starting to bring in as much as possible. So the reality is, the roadmap itself will continue to change due to both market needs and business priorities. But what we do is provide directional guidance in terms of what we're doing, what are kind of the near targets the team is working towards, and what are we planning. And so if you have any questions about this, our roadmap itself is publicly available, and we provide a lot of materials to date. The QR code here right now will take you to pwastudio.io, which has a lot of those links, whether it be the roadmap itself, information to join our weekly calls, and an archive of notes from a lot of the conversations we've had in putting this together. Key takeaway here is that, again, what we do is incredibly important. What we do is really a big part of creating these experiences well beyond performance with PWA, but how we've done it is incredibly important as well. How we've shaped the product based on community feedback, based on the early launches, it's really been an honor, but it's really been a really great part of what we've been doing here. Our next step, as I mentioned, is 9.0. Again, we're going to continue looking at ways to increase the cadence of the launches themselves. 9.0 just happens to be part of 2.4.2, starting which will be launching next week. And we mentioned a couple of the key improvements there, over 90 quality performance updates, but really the hero experiences and really the hero capabilities are going to be localization, internationalization, the introduction of extensibility, which is the premise of extensions and themes, and then my account. So some of the authenticated experience as well. So with that, that's kind of what we have for today. Again, I hope if you think about the key takeaways here, really going back to this being more than just PWA itself. It's really about experiences. It's really about the journey that we've taken to help bring this to life, not only for Magento, but also Adobe. And that's based on a lot of the themes that we saw in a very big way during the holidays and starting to apply this towards our priorities in 2021. So I hope this was informative for you. Hopefully it was useful. Obviously, if you have any questions, we're pretty easy to find. And again, we look forward to hearing from you.
Hey, thanks, Eric, for sharing, as usual, always an insightful session. It was very nice, like you shared how with the help of PWA, how we can connect and how we can engage the customers. So yeah, it really will be helpful for the merchants as well and for developers also. I think you shared about PWA roadmap and all. So yeah, thank you so much. We are actually running out of time. So you can take one or two questions. Like this question here is, PWA better than Magento storefront in terms of future?
Is it better than? Sorry, let me see if I can. Is it better than Magento storefront in terms of features? It's a tough one. So let me see if I can unpack that a little bit. And so PWA, what we're doing here is going to be the Magento storefront. And so our mission, in time, is that this will this will replace the current Luma-based storefront. And so, to date, there are some gaps. I mean, if you look at the work we're doing, we now have a My Account. We've got some near-term work on multi-store product types, et cetera. And so we are getting there, but I will say the customization can often be addressed in a pretty straightforward way, but also through a series of extensions and themes. So better can be kind of a tricky word in that, but I think I would look at, really look at what we've done compared, really with both options as platforms to help you, drive what you need. So.
All right. Yeah, nice. Thanks, Eric. Thank you so much for your insightful session. Thanks.
Great. Thank you so much, Manish, and thank you so much to everybody. So have a great rest of your day and have a great conference.